Okay, let's get started. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Philippe Chorpo. I'm responsible for customer success at Jitterbit. And today we're going to cover a couple of topics that I think are pertinent specifically in those times. It's how to ensure a smooth merger and acquisition integration process and Salesforce platform events. So we have two speakers, then we'll introduce themselves at the beginning of their session. Jeremy Parker, our CEO, and Jamie Delgado, one of our senior architects. So I'll go to the meeting format, outline what we're going to cover in more details, and then we'll go to the different presentations. So today we're going to talk about M&A tips, getting from a lot of experience on the market, and specifically more recently some of the acquisitions we have made here at Jitterbit. And then we'll talk about platform event change data capture, which is something then as Salesforce has released a while back, and for which we have added components and things to make it a lot easier to leverage. Just a reminder then, in terms of the next virtual meetup, this is next quarter on March 15, and we take the topics from you all. So if you want us to cover a specific topic, something that is valuable, let us know, and then we'll prepare that virtual meetup to cover something that brings value to your organization. We have heard from several customers that interacting with messaging solutions such as Slack. So being able from Slack to interact with your system, or from your system to post on Slack or other messaging solution, is something of value. If you think this is something valuable, this is what we'll plan for. Let us know, talk with your CSM. We want to make sure that those virtual meetup brings as much as possible to your organizations. And the topics, what we cover, it's all around best practices. We can do product demo, talk about anything related to Jitterbit. And from time to time, we do an NPS survey. We take that very seriously. And we take the feedback and ensure that actually we always raise the bar on what we provide to your organizations. So when you get the NPS survey, please respond, and then we'll follow up on your responses to ensure that we continue to deliver value to your organization. Before I hand over to Jeremy Parker, I'd like to remind that we're coming with Jitterbit message queuing. We talked about it during the last virtual meetup. Tommy Das made a presentation, an overview. We're now entering a beta phase, and if you're interested into this, it's pretty simple. Email Tommy Das, CC your CSM, so then we're aware, and then and it'll take you to the program, and then you can take it for a spin. So it really completes the picture in terms of integration. We can do batch or schedule type of integration, near real-time integration with APIs, and with MQ, we're bringing this guaranteed delivery aspect of integration. Even if the system is offline or not available, we know that the message is not going to get lost. So great value added to the solution. So if it applies to some of your use cases, let us know. If you want to take it for a spin during the beta program, this is something we will value your participation. So now I'll hand over to Jeremy. If you want to introduce yourself and let me know when you want to switch slide.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are in the world. My name is Jeremy Parker. My role is COO at Jitterbit. I've been with the business for a little over a year now. Spent almost all of my career in some form of operational role, with the bulk of that being in telecom and infrastructure, and made the switch over to software a dozen or so years ago, and not looking back. I'm coming to you today from Colorado, where we expect to get a cold front coming in tomorrow, just in time for me to escape to Costa Rica for the holidays. So look forward to speaking with you all today. So Phil, if you want to flip over to the next slide. So I thought I'd spend a little bit of time today talking about mergers and acquisitions. And this is a topic that candidly I could go on for hours about, something that I'm passionate about, something I've got a fair amount of experience in. You know, candidly, I don't think there's been a year in my career that I haven't been, in some sort of M&A or integration related process. So want to kind of go through some approaches. Before I get into approaches, what what is M&A, right? For me, I kind of define it as, it's really all about time to value. And it's you as a company or as an organization defining what that time and value equation is. But there's three types of or approaches to integration that I've seen and worked with. And these aren't industry terms. These are really more Jeremy terms, just for clarity. So the first one that we'll kind of go through is the bolt-on, right? And then there's the hybrid, and then there's the fully integrated. So from a bolt-on perspective, what's bolt-on? So you acquire, you look at a company, you look at an asset, and as you're going through that respective process, you just effectively bolt on that company, meaning you aren't going to be doing any real integration related activity. You want to effectively running that business as a standalone business. And there's lots of benefits and drawbacks to that, right? Benefits being you don't have to have a lot of integration activity, don't have to have a lot of integration expertise. Downside to that is just imagine that you do several of these and you start to get a lot of bolt-ons. You're now dealing with a fairly complex operating environment to where you're maintaining teams, you're maintaining systems, you're maintaining operational environments, etc. So not saying any of these are right or wrong, there's just benefits and drawbacks to doing them. And I'll take you through kind of how we've done it, because you can also evolve through these. Then there's the hybrid approach, right? Where you look at an asset, you combine that asset, and you only want to do bits and pieces of it, right? In your time to value equation. So maybe you just integrate some of the org structure. Maybe there's just a couple of systems that you need to integrate to be able to have enough command and control over the business, right? So again, benefit being you can do this pretty quickly. You don't have to have a lot of expertise. Downside being, again, you start having a lot of Venn diagrams and you start having a lot of overlapping circles. You can create kind of an operational web that can be hard to unwind over a period of time. And then you've got the fully integrated, meaning you are going to be operating as one company, right? You are integrating employees, you're integrating processes, you're integrating systems, you're integrating product, platform, capabilities. Benefit to that, you're able to recognize all the effective efficiencies that you're going to get from the business. You've got common processes. Downside, it does take some time and it does take a fair amount of expertise. So those just quick high level on those three. Let me kind of explain our journey from a Jitterbit perspective. So over the last 12 to 18 months, we've acquired 3 businesses, each one of them having a different time to value equation. 2 of the acquisitions that we made were really about product or intellectual property or capabilities that we wanted in our platform, that we decided that it was easier or the time to value equation was easier for us to acquire the asset versus us to build the capabilities ourselves. The third one that we did was really about geographic expansion. All right, so that was procuring a company down in Latin America for us to expand our global footprint. Again, something that we could have done organically, would have taken a fair amount of time and investment. So on that time to value equation, we wanted to procure a company that already had a footprint, already had relationships, and we were able to accomplish that. So as we went through our respective integration planning, we actually went through each one of these phases. Like I said, we didn't pick just one. We actually went through a plan and went through them. So I'll give you the example of our Latin America expansion. We started that off as a bolt-on, meaning we wanted to do no harm. We wanted to ensure that they were continuing to service their customers whilst we built out an integration plan, not only from a product and technology perspective, but also how we were going to support that from a back office perspective, systems, people, etc. So that took a couple of months. Then we moved into hybrid, to where we did integrate the teams and we integrated the technology and got their secret sauce off of their platform and put it onto our platform. And then we've made our way through integrating back office systems and getting us all unified on processes, etc. So we're now moving into fully integrated, which we would expect to complete that in Q1. I'll give you another example. The one that we acquired from a technology perspective, we went right to fully integrated, right? So we were able to assess the business very quickly, and we were able to get teams, product, capabilities, everything done within circa 90 days and get it into a fully integrated. So as you can see, that's, you can pick one, you can pick a passion, and you can go down it and hold it with its benefits or drawbacks, or you kind of evolve that plan and move from bolt-on to integrated or bolt-on to hybrid, depending on how and when you want to recognize that time to value. All right, Phil, if you want to move on to the next slide, because I know I only have 10 minutes and I'm eating through it already. So, so when you think about integration and readiness, I tend to kind of bookend it, right? You got to understand really why and what the benefits are from an acquisition perspective, and what that plan is, and why you're doing an integration related activity, or why you're out looking to do a merger and acquisition. And then you got to book into it with it. Can you get the benefits from that hypothesis, from being able to successfully integrate all those capabilities? So a couple of key things that I just put on here, right, and a couple of key questions that you just kind of ask yourself, and 5 of them, and I won't go through them all. But one thing that I have found over all of the years of doing mergers and acquisitions, and I think I said this to Philippe, or I've said it to some other folks here, was wishing that I had something that Jitterbit provided, right? That integration related software, right? So it's that number 3. Do you have integration tools in place? Because I can tell you, after having done a lot of these and trying to interact with systems, not having that capability really elongates that time to value. For example, a company has a CRM, you have a CRM, you want to be able to get everybody operating on a single CRM. Having the ability to integrate and have a tool that is able to integrate those respective systems significantly increases or decreases the amount of time, and just increases your ability to capture the value that you're looking for. For example, when we were going through the Latin America integration, they were using a service platform. We wanted to migrate to our service platform. We were really easily able to make the connection between those respective systems, get the data ported over, and now be operating in one platform. So just some things to think through, right, as you're going through. It's really about, do you have the right approach? Do you have those types of teams and skills on staff? Are you looking to augment them with potentially a consultant? Do you have that integration framework, integration tools, integration platform that will enable you to really be successful and ultimately give value back to your teams, and more importantly to the customers? Do you have a process in place for reviewing, integration milestones? Really important that you're communicating, you're keeping things on path. Integrations are challenging. There's always something that comes up as you're going through them. So being able to really have a rigorous review and setting those milestones in place is very important, and it helps mitigate any issues or risks or elongating that time to value. And I think the most important thing, right, is that communication plan. One of the biggest things that I've seen erode the value of a merger or an acquisition is not being able to integrate the cultures, or not being able to communicate effectively, or having employees or customers confused about where you're going. So having a really robust communication strategy is super important. So I know I'm about up on time, but happy to take any questions, Philippe, if that's the plan.
Yeah, we can any questions. There is a Q&A dialogue, then you can enter your questions. For now, there is no questions. So it was great overview. I know that we have our tools can help with a lot of the synergy and integrations, but you're making a good point around culture. We love our new friends from Canada, from Latin America, and then from Europe, as we have acquired those 3 businesses. But there is a lot of work around how do we integrate those cultures, then the tool cannot help with. But for everything else, we can definitely leverage harmony.
Yeah, that's exactly. And we do love all of our friends. And I think it is very important that, you're creating, when you do a merger and acquisition, it's not the old culture, it is a new culture. So being able to pivot and take, the goods from all the cultures and make sure that you're now combining them, especially as you go fully integrated into a new company culture and vision. I think it's really important that, you know, you're taking all the good from the companies, and you're kind of wanting to leave behind anything that you don't want to have going forward. So I think we've done a really good job at that.
Perfect. So no questions. So we'll transition to the next sessions. Jeremy, thank you very much for joining us this morning, and then sharing your experience. Hopefully, it was valuable to several of our customers. So let me
appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. So Jaime, if you want to take it away, I'll stop sharing at some point during your introduction, and then I'll let you share your screen.
Sounds good. Thanks, Philippe. Welcome to everybody, and I'm Jaime Delgado. I'm a senior customer success architect. I work within the success team to help customers through understanding our platform, doing health checks and health assessments, and providing information on how to best leverage the investment that you have in the platform. So I'm an advocate for our customers and being able to really be successful with the product. I'll go ahead and share my screen.
I don't think we're seeing the right screen now. We're seeing elsewhere. Perfect.
So the what I'll be covering is talking about a new feature that we have in a new connector in our Cloud Studio design tool. And I want to cover just 8 quick slides on being able to understand how we implement Salesforce events within Jitterbit. So I'll just go ahead and get started on that. I wanted to share this slide because it's been, I think, since Salesforce release of summer 17, when platform events were first released and available for customers. And historically, we just didn't have a connector available to consume platform events. And so we did have a way of being able to consume platform events within Jitterbit, but it took several of other components in order to make it happen. And so I think this release is very important for our customers in being able to consume platform events without, having to set up multiple additional components in order to be able to receive those messages from Salesforce. So this is more just about what had to happen previously before this Salesforce event connector was available. We had to set up a process builder and have that process builder create an entry into a platform event object, and then have a different flow that would then call an external service, which would send that payload to a Jitterbit custom API, and then we would process it from there. So we could do it in the past. It's just a lot more of moving parts in order to be able to consume those events. Moving forward now with platform event support in Jitterbit, as well as change data capture. So this is just simply the ability to receive notifications of an event happening within Salesforce. So a couple of things that are part of this within Salesforce is their implementation of a bus infrastructure, as well as the change data capture to trigger that event into the Salesforce event bus. So that is the functionality within Salesforce, and I invite you to. There's a lot more to platform events within Salesforce, but this is what is relevant to our conversation today. To be able to have this connector that will be able to do some introspection into your Salesforce org, take a look at what objects are there for notification and have activities that will respond to those events. So within Jitterbit, we have the Salesforce events connector. It's currently in beta. It is available within Cloud Studio. You'll see that in the connectivity palette. And then it'll have several activities once you configure that connector. Be able to subscribe to an event, be able to subscribe to an insert, which is a create. We can also publish an event. We can also subscribe to updates, and very important activity, which was honestly a bit of a challenge in the past, was on being able to subscribe to a delete event, right? So I'm really looking forward to that one, because for sort of data warehousing capability, this is something that we always presented a bit of a challenge in the past. And so being able to receive that notification is, I think it's a huge accomplishment for the connector in our platform teams. There are some limitations. Currently, this is it only supports newly created events in Salesforce. So anything that you recently creating new events in Salesforce. And the beta connector is only available for customers that are running our private agent version 10.61 or later. So we're on 11.1 now, I believe. But anything that, if you want to participate in testing out this beta connector, you would need to have your private agent running on 10.61 or later. Moving on and looking at the anatomy of how this is implemented in Jitterbit, there's a new infrastructure, a new framework within the agent, which we call the listener framework. And there is a configuration file on the agent that just needs one line entry, which is what you see there under that bullet. And you would need to add that to that configuration file in order for the listener framework to sort of be awakened, if you will, within the private agent. So that's a one-liner, pretty easy to do. Once you've done that and restarted that agent, that's a one-time setup. You will need to configure a Salesforce connected app in order to be able to obtain your connected app credentials, which will be part of the setup in the Salesforce event Jitterbit connector. And then following that, you will need to configure which entities or objects will generate events. And Salesforce makes this pretty simple. And under the Change Data Capture menu, you can select which objects will generate change events, right? So you select the account object, contact object, whatever it is that you want to configure. And then once you've completed that step, then you would create and configure the Salesforce event connector in your Jitterbit project, and then pull down any of the activities that you want to process events for. So let's take a deeper look at that. There's a couple of ways in order to implement this, and I think there'll be other patterns that are part of this, but based on what's available in the connector currently in beta, the simplest and most straightforward is just to use the Salesforce out-of-the-box change event object. So this is something that Salesforce creates, and And basically, once you select in Salesforce under the change data capture menu, once you select the object that's going to generate the events, it's going to basically create like a copy of the base object, whether it's account or orders or opportunity or whatever, which will then publish that event, that record, that change to any of the subscribers of that event. So very simple to set up. Any of the messages that are generated from change events are received in Jitterbit, and then Jitterbit can do any kind of filtering that it would like based on what field has changed. So what's nice about that message that's coming from Salesforce is that it tells you, it gives you all of the data within that change event, and also includes information about which field made the change. Field or fields were part of that change. And so that allows you to process that message accordingly. Or you can also say, I'm not interested in this change, and then you can discard it, or just not do any further processing. So that's the first, just taking sort of the out of the box approach to what Salesforce provides. The other option is to configure a custom platform event. And in this setup, you can create a custom event object and then publish any changes to that base object, from that base object, based on a rule that you implement via process builder. So very simple to do. You create a process builder that when an event happens on, let's say, an account, and the criteria for that process builder is that the change is on an address field, for example. And if it meets that criteria, then it goes ahead and makes an entry into your custom platform event. And then at that point, the message would be sent to its subscribers. So in this scenario, you're doing the filtering at the source within Salesforce, and not sending any messages to Jitterbit or any other subscribers, because you put some criteria around what would trigger that platform event being created. So those are two different ways that that you can take approach to events and notifications that come from Salesforce. And it's good to keep this in mind, because there are many other other applications that touch some of these objects within Salesforce. And so some of those changes may not be the record or the data that was changed may not be a candidate for integration, and may not be an interest to downstream objects or systems where Jitterbit would need to process that record change. So just passing this information on as to the different approaches for implementing platform events within Jitterbit. So we'll take a look at a couple of things, a couple of operations, and how this looks within Jitterbit. So we'll have one that is an out-of-the-box change event, and then the other operation that's based on a custom platform event. And I'll just switch over to Jitterbit here. And so I just wanted to show here that you can see that this is the activity for subscribing to an update event. And so this is more on that out-of-the-box approach. And the configuration for this activity itself is fairly simple. Once my screen refreshes here. So there's two steps within this. One is that you're choosing which change event you want to receive notification on. And then secondly, it gives you the information about the schema. So it's pretty straightforward. And you can see here, it's basically a copy of that object, as well as some information about the change event itself. And so any changes that would happen within Salesforce to this order object, that would be received here. So for example, I have an order here. If I go and update, I'll just update this quantity on one of the products related to the order. I go ahead and save it, and then it updates the order. And so I'll take a look here in the logs. And so here is our message that just came through. And this is what we would see, right? So that change in the products related to that order would have updated the total amount. And so we see the total amount there. And if we look at the information in the change event header, we'll see that the change type was an update, the entity was an order, and we can see here the change fields, right? So that because the number of products on the order was changed, that made a change to the total amount on the order. And so it's telling me here that that's the field that was affected on the order. And, we got that update. So that's what I was mentioning earlier, that if we decided to just use the out of the box, subscribe to that update event, this is the information that we would see. And then within Jitterbit, we can decide and take a look at that change field. And this actually is an array of, so there might be, if there are multiple fields modified on that save, that there would be a list here. As you can see, also the last modified date was updated as well. So in Jitterbit, we could decide, hey, I'm not interested in changes on the total amount. I'm interested in other changes. And so we could do some filtering here and discard that message if we wanted to. So that's the out of the box setup. I have another example here for a custom order platform event. And in that example, I would go into the details of the order, and I have a trigger that is, I'll just change the city here to the shipping city to Alsip, Illinois. And now what I would expect to see is to receive a message for that custom order platform event. I'll take a look here. And here's our message. And here we could see that the shipping city, where that change came through, right? So the shipping city is Alsip, and this is a custom platform event object that I made. And so these are, some of the fields that I put into that custom object, and that's what I would receive. So, if I've made other changes, for example, changing the product order quantity, then that would not have, that doesn't trigger my custom order platform event. So just showing, within Jitterbit, the implementation of those two. While I'm here, I just want to show a couple of options that are related to the Salesforce event connector, and that is that there's a slide button here that allows you to turn on or turn off the events, right? You can do that from here. That's a new option on the operation itself. And also this indicates that this platform event has been configured on that private agent and it's listening for those events. So if the listening framework would not be available, there's some kind of issue with the private agent, then this would not be green and it would be a different color. It would be a grayed out color. So so those are some of the options around that connector. I also wanted to show some of the how the setup would work, right? Remember that in the connected app, I mentioned that we would need a consumer key and also a consumer secret. That's something that you would get from within Salesforce so that you can populate here and being able to, this information would get passed down to the listening framework in order to set up a event client to be able to receive that notification from Salesforce. So I'll switch back to the presentation now. So I wanted to also contrast this with outbound messaging. So a lot of our clients also use outbound messaging in order to achieve near real time from Salesforce into Jitterbit. And it's good to understand the differences between the outbound messaging functionality and platform events. Outbound messaging is SOAP and XML based. The messages can include only the fields that are directly on that object, so that's a bit of a limitation. It does have, what's nice about outbound messaging is that it's guaranteed delivery and retry. So if it's not able to access what you've configured as the receiver of that message, the functionality within outbound messaging will continue to retry for a period of 24 hours. So that's nice. It does require the Jitterbit API manager to be licensed. And so that's the functionality within Jitterbit that allows you to create custom APIs. And it does have some limitation on security as far as in Jitterbit, we can set up IP whitelisting and use Salesforce certificates, but that's about it. So that's something that from within the platform events listener framework is an enhancement. It's nice that platform events are JSON based, so that payload is much smaller than XML. It's a great option for customers that are running private agents. So that's a great thing. What's nice about platform events is that the field reference is very flexible, right? So you can create platform events that go across related objects. And so you can create your own custom platform events based on the information that you want to receive in that payload. And a big win is being able to have notifications on record deletion, right? So when something is deleted, you have that trail of what has happened to that record over time, including deletes. The traditional event bus messaging features from what Salesforce has implemented. So now Jitterbit gets to participate in both as a producer and also a consumer, meaning that you can publish an event. And then it's important to also keep in mind licensing implications within Salesforce. So you want to check with your edition for the availability, and also there are limits on, based on your edition, how many events you can subscribe to and also publish. So some things to keep in mind. So for scenarios in implementing one approach versus the other, outbound messaging is tried and true. We have a ton of customers using this feature. It is useful in handling one-off in real-time events that are isolated to a single object. So if you just want to get basically have a snapshot, a flat snapshot of what that record had in that change. It does have some limitations, as I mentioned before, including that the intermediate changes may be lost. So this comes right from the outbound messaging considerations page from Salesforce documentation, that the source object might change after a notification is sent, but before it is delivered. So once the notification is actually delivered, at the time that outbound message is triggered, it's gonna take whatever is in the object at the time and not what actually was changed. So this is important to know, especially when there's delays in receiving that outbound message. Something positive is that it's available on cloud or private agents, and this is used in conjunction with the Jitterbit API Manager license. On the other side, platform events, you define your own structure of your message. You can pull data on related objects to the base object that was that triggered the event. You receive intermediate changes because for platform events, the change event itself is decoupled from the notification. So, so this is great if you want to have traceability of changes as they're made. And platform events is part of a much richer features within Salesforce that can handle higher volumes of messages. And there's also options for encrypting those platform event messages at rest using Salesforce Shield. So that's another product within Salesforce. Again, you want to check with your Salesforce edition, but that's another great option in that those messages can be encrypted. And for platform events, if you're running on private agents, then it's a great option in which the Jitterbit API Manager is not needed. So what happens within Jitterbit is that on the private agent, it creates, using our listener framework, it creates a listener that can directly receive those messages that are sent from Salesforce. So in the presentation here, I'm including some additional information available from Salesforce, right? Like I said, just check on your license and the edition that you're on in Salesforce. And then it would be good if you're interested in Salesforce events and implementing that within Jitterbit, to take a look at our prerequisites. You'll find this on our success site, Success Central, on what the requirements are. And I mentioned those in our presentation today. And also how to set up the connector, and step by step on, the other things that I mentioned, where you find the configuration file to edit it and what that entry needs to be, how to set up a connected app in your Salesforce org, and what are the connection properties that you need to capture in order to set it up to set up the Salesforce Events connector in Jitterbit. And then lastly, contact your CSM, right, for early access to this connector in your Jitterbit org. And also, if you want to discuss your use case, you want to talk to one of our customer success architects, we can talk through, perhaps maybe you're currently using outbound messages and you want to talk about how to transition to Salesforce Events. We can talk through those changes with you, and also we always encourage you to provide feedback. So that's something that we'd love to hear from our customers on using these new connectors and ways that we can improve and add additional functionality. So I'll pause here for any questions. We have a little bit of time, right, Philippe?
Yeah, we do absolutely address a couple of questions. One of the questions was this: is this something that is available in Design Studio, Cloud Studio? So this is available in Cloud Studio, and it requires private agents. Doesn't run on cloud agents. But if there is any other questions, excuse me, go ahead, Jaime.
No, I was just confirming what you just said. That it's only available in Cloud Studio.
Perfect. So thank you, Jaime. If there is any other question, we can address now, or we can follow up after this this virtual meetup. Wanted to wrap up with first, thank you to Jeremy Parker and Jaime Delgado to walk us through to those topics. We're here to help. We're here to address any questions or help you with your different projects. So if you reach out to your CSM, if you want to learn more about our solution, we do a lot of integrations, automation. As you know, we have an app builder that we released earlier this year, and we do EDI. And you'll see more capabilities coming in the platform over the next year as we augment the capabilities of what we bring to our customers. We can do best practice sessions with Jaime or another architect, helping you with planning your project. If you're done with your project and you're about to send it to production, we can do health check. Always happy to give you some guidance or some tips on what you can improve, if anything, or just give you the peace of mind associated to releasing that in production. We can review your architecture, make some recommendations around how to optimize that architecture. We do some working session with our architects. We also had the CSA office hours. It's every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. You don't have to send topics. You can join, and one of our architects will basically address the questions you might have. And then we also do custom workshop with our architect and based on what you're looking to do. We're here to help you get the most value out of the solution. So don't hesitate to leverage what we bring to the table. Obviously, a lot of information in success. If you're unsure who your CSM is, just email success@jitterbit.com or me directly at phil@jitterbit.com. So I don't see any questions. So that's a wrap. Again, thank you for the speakers, Jeremy Parker and Jaime Delgado, and thank you all for joining. And happy holidays. Stay safe, and then we'll see you into the next year. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.